Hey guys, Brittany coming at you with another hive inspection. It is July 12th. It's been a little over a week since we expanded this hive to 2 deeps. So this is going to be a new for me with this being my first year beekeeping. I have only inspected single deep hives. So I'm not exactly sure what to expect. I do know bees work quickly and my bees like to surprise me and keep me on my toes. So I don't know how much they will have drawn this out. They are starting from just foundation strips. So we'll see how quickly they've worked. I have been feeding them. But if that sounds good to you, keep watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out Brittany's Botanical Bling where I sell my handmade items, indoor plants. This beekeeping veil is one of the items I sell, and some handmade jewelry themed to bees, chickens, and other items. And let's get into it. All right, so I am still feeding them. I'm trying to remember how many days it's been. Oh my gosh. I have been filling these jars. These are pint-sized jars, about half full. Oh my gosh. Side note, I did build a good setup that keeps ants at bay. However, you do still have to keep up with weeds, because if weeds grow and create a bridge, then the ants can just access the hive via the weeds. And a lot of my weeds here are poison ivy. So it's more of a challenge to handle those. So I do have a few ants in here, but nothing like I was getting when I was starting to kind of have a problem. Anyway, that said, I fill these about half full because with it being so hot, I have found if you fill it too full, they just don't get through it quickly enough before it starts to ferment. The heat just really causes it to start to ferment after a few days. So I like to just do small amounts. It's been a couple days and they're through this, so I'll refill this and put that back in here. So I just have a super box covering my feed, so I'm feeding them internally, that ant. And then I have this board with the screened wire mesh there that the mason jars fit on. It's worked out really nicely. Now I did notice, I think it was yesterday, I was just kind of watching the landing boards to watch the activity, and I did notice a wasp on this one. Started up at the top box and worked its way down to the entrance, and one of the girls scared it off. I assumed that it never gained access. But that said, they may be extra spicy. So that's something that I'm going to try to be aware of. Okay, they are all over these frames. Just as a general view from the top, I mean, they're working, but it doesn't look like they have made extreme progress on these. But I'm glad to see that they are up here. I did put a frame, looks like it, yeah, it was this one, a frame in here that had pretty much all the things you can have in a frame. It had brood, all stages of brood, and some resources and stuff, some honey, some nectar, pollen, just all the things. On this side, to me it kind of looks like I'm probably not gonna spend a ton of time on here. I do want to take a peek. It's possible that my queen is in here. So something I've done to install my foundation strips, traditionally on my frames, I've only put about this much, but since we're getting a little later in the season and they have to draw out these frames, I wanted to give them a little more to start with. So I just took the sheet of wax, stapled it, kind of bent a little lip and stapled it to the top of this. And then I just folded over and squeezed together this part right here around the wire to give it some stability. And then just try to give them a good starting point. And as I mentioned in my last video, I'm 5'1". So with the second deep, it's obviously up more than it was. Okay, they're definitely working in here because this is propolised. These two frames are propolised together. But again, I'm looking at these. I'm not really seeing any work. And I also have to remember there's stuff below these frames. Because in the past, I just had the single deep. And now that I have two deeps, there are other worker bees and other frames below this. And it's also possible for them to have attached them to bottom. Where is this? What is this stuck on? I don't know. I'll just pick up on it. I don't. Okay, it's not really stuck to anything. I don't know what it. I don't know. So it is hot today, but we are in the shade. It doesn't feel too bad. We do have storms coming in more so tonight, but it is breezy. So it's definitely something that I'm mindful of. I'm just going to take a peek at this. Yeah, they're on here. Okay. I can just barely see where it looks like a little lighter there, where it looks like maybe they are. I don't know why I'm letting myself hold this all weird and be weird about this. That's so. Eh. This is one of the frames that's next to the frame that was already drawn out that I moved up, and they are just barely starting on it. So I gotta say, I'm a smidge disappointed that they aren't. I mean, they're up here, but they're not. They haven't really made the progress that I was kind of hoping to see. But oh my goodness, they've spent time propolising. I don't want to jerk this. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's the way to use it. That worked. That worked nicely. Oh man, you gotta let go of that one. There you go. Okay, I'm gonna take a peek at this one. Just see what we see. And then looks to me like I need to just move on to the lower box. Who'll be there? Fill in this one with honey. There is brood up here. I'm trying to think. Kept off brood. Timing wise, since they did have eggs and larvae on this one a little over a week ago, then that makes sense. My nose is itching. Not seeing eggs so far. Does have nectar in it, so I'm gonna spin like this. I do like to flip them, but if they have nectar in them, I don't love to flip them like I usually do, because then I've had nectar dripping out and I don't want to waste their work. So yeah, a little more awkward to do this, but it's okay. I need to take a view for the queen. I'm not seeing her. So we're going to get this back in here. I do want to take a peek at this other frame that's right next to it, just to see if they've started drawing it out. Something I may do is some more frame manipulation to try to encourage them to draw this out more up in the top deep. Yeah, they really haven't done a ton. Yeah. All right, that's a little disappointing, but not awful. All right, so I'm going to scoot these back together, and then we'll look at the bottom deep and go from there. They're definitely busy down here. And another thing for me to consider, I moved the one frame up to the second deep, and I'm trying to think. I left maybe 5 or 6 mostly drawn frames down here. So then that would leave 5, 4 or 5, right? Yeah, 4 or 5 starter strip frames down here. So, even though they have not really been busy in that upper deep, something to consider is the fact that they're also still, there's work to be done down here. And it would make sense for them to be focusing on these that are down here. Now, something that is new for me, I have inspected hives that have had room on either side of the brood nest. So this is something that is, it's filling up in this bottom deep box. So that's definitely a new experience for me as far as the room that I have to work goes, the size of the population, um, and just really being mindful of their demeanor. They have been just an amazing, remarkable group of bees for me as a beginner, for anybody, but especially as a beginner. But that can always change. As they grow in number, that can change. If we start to go into a dearth, their demeanor can change. If they start to have robbers, their demeanor can change. Just a lot of things can change things. So I'm trying to be mindful that they can change and just be observant of how they are in the moment and not how they've always been, if that makes sense. So I don't want to be in here too long. I just want to see what they're up to, make sure they're still queen right. It's always a little challenging to get this small hive beetle or oil trap out because they always kind of propolis it. There we go. Didn't really leave myself room there to get my hive tool in. Yeah, ladies. All right, I'm going to take a peek at this. There is one small hive beetle in there. This is very light. But they're drawing it out really nicely. And I'm seeing eggs. Not yet. I don't really see anything in this. Something that I have to remember to do is look closely, but also look at the broad spectrum. That's how you find your queen and kind of get an overall feel for what they're doing on that frame. I want them to move down some so I can get my half tool in there and not hurt them. Another light frame. They are starting to draw it out, but nothing magnificent. They're starting to draw it out over here. There's no space for eggs. Not deep enough yet. If you notice, for the most part, they really are not paying attention to me. They are just going about their business. That's a sign of a docile hive. I will say, and it makes sense, this is a little harder to work. This hive, oh shoot, now that their population is growing because there are just more bees kind of in the way. Oh, there we go. Hooey. And I don't plan on getting into these two hives today, with the exception of maybe taking a peek in the top since I've got the smoker going stuff. But this hive right here, just really overall so far, has seemed to use a lot more propolis than the other. I won't say the other two because This one I just split, so I can't really judge that one. Okay, we're finally to a more busy frame. Lots and lots of worker cells, capped worker brood, pollen, larva. There's some honey. Am I seeing eggs? Larva is a good start, but it doesn't tell us that the queen's been in here within the past day or two. I see eggs, 2-day-old eggs. They're laying over, not straight up and down, so they're laying over a little. I don't know if you can see or not, but they're laying over, which means they're 2-day-old eggs. Let's see, bee bread, larva, capped worker, brood. Also, a side note, I had been seeing, I don't want to say a ton of small hive beetles. I would say 12 or fewer small hive beetles, which is kind of what I read was an okay level. But I had kind of been seeing some small hive beetles in here. And so far, other than the one we saw in the small hive beetle oil trap, I have not seen any scurrying around. So that's good. It may be, I mean, of course, there's always the possibility that I just haven't come across any yet. Seems like they should be more on the outside of the brood nest, though, like in the corners, and I don't see any in the corners. But this hive is definitely growing in population. So, you know, one of the ways that they combat any pest is, in high population, they just have the manpower, or woman power, I should say, girl power, to kind of keep it in check on their own. Goodness, girls, stop sticking it together so much. All right, so we sell 2-day-old eggs, but I'd really like to see some day-old eggs and maybe even our queen. That would be lovely. All right, we have lots of nectar, capped worker brood, some honey, pollen. Lots of pollen on this side. Capped worker brood. I'm not hiding this from you. No queen that I've seen. Oh, you know what? I didn't think I saw eggs on here, but I do, just barely. I can just barely see them. I can't tell if they're day old or 2-day old. What I'm trying to do when I'm putting the frames back in is keep the wider portions of the side panels up, butted up against the one that way it slides into place and kind of pushes bees out of the way where I'm not smashing bees. All right, we have lots of capped worker brood and larvae and eggs. Something I've mentioned a few times is this queen. This is a queen that this hive raised from swarm cells, and I did a walkaway split, moved my original queen over to the split and kept them to raise the new queen here. But the new queen that they raised really seems to be like a rock star queen, in my opinion. but she also seems to be a little more. I have found her every inspection, but she does seem to be a little more elusive. Just doesn't really seem to want to be seen, which is fine. My other queen, though, she just struts her stuff and is there. All right, not. I don't want to spend too much time actually looking for the queen because I know she's in here. See more eggs. They're in the backs of the cells, in the center, and singular eggs. I see some young larvae, some older larvae. So I know she's in here, and it's not a laying worker. Laying worker, they wouldn't be on the backs of the cells. They'd be more to the side, or actually on the sides, and there would be multiples in each singular cell. So I feel confident to say that we are queen right, as far as I can see. Oh, good. I got that a little closer than I thought I was actually getting that because there's so many bees. Something I heard on a recent David Burns video that I never really thought of, but it makes sense. If you ever see a bunch of bees on the edge kind of looking up at you, you probably should smoke them. They should be working and not giving you attention. If they're watching you, then you're going to start getting to where they might consider going on the defense. Now I was really stuck in there. Okay. Lots of capped worker brood and larvae. See multiple ages of the larvae. Some younger, some older. We have some nectar. Oh, and there's a little bee being born. Let's see if you can see that. Smoke's blowing right at him. It's towards the bottom. If I've got it on the screen well, I'll put a arrow on it. Oh, see a couple. Hopefully I've got a couple in frame. It just never gets old for me to see them being born. Welcome to the world, girls. I appreciate you. All right. Lots of capped worker brood and larvae. See some eggs. I see a couple of cells that capped brood cells that look to be drone cells. And something I noted in, I believe, my last inspection, I have noticed considerably less drone cells being made. And I feel like, we're at the time of year where they're just going to need fewer and fewer drones to be mating with new queens because it's just not that time of year. It's not unheard of to have a swarm this time of year, but it's growing less and less likely. No queen. I'm gonna maybe have to be okay with not finding my queen possibly during this inspection. Oh, and we are coming upon the frame that we've kind of been working on the past couple inspections, where the starter strip of wax had detached from the top bar and the wax had fallen. It's this frame right here, and it was right here, and it had fallen, and they had attached it to this one. And I cut it from this, put it back into position, used some rubber bands to hold it in place. And they got a little better after 1 week, but it still was falling a little. So what I did was I spun it because this frame was drawn out and this frame was not drawn out next to it. So when it fell over next to this one, it fell into not much over here, but I spun it to where it's right here up against the drawn out frame. That way they would be less likely to draw it out kind of wonky and flopping over. They're going to want it to give them bee space and be less likely to draw it wonky. And I can see they have not attached it. Well, there's a small little portion they had sort of started attaching to the frame next to it, but nothing like they've been doing. And I think what I did is more or less working. You can see, oh, I got a little too high. This is the part that I'm talking about. They're definitely doing better at making it what I want it to be. All right, we have lots of capped worker brood, some nectar. Sorry about my dogs if you can hear them. See eggs. No queen. Turn this. Oh, there's the queen. Let's see. I'm going to turn it this way. That always makes me feel so much better. What is she doing? She's just staying there. Can you see that? Can you see the queen? I hope you can see the queen. Yes. All right. And let's see. We have more capped worker brood, nectar. She's starting to walk around now. Kind of strange though because she's usually walking around a ton. She's walking around now. Here she goes. Okay, so now we've seen our queen, and I can see, since she's on this side facing away from the camera, I'm going to slide that one up against the frame because what I don't want to do is smash my queen. I don't want to ever smash a bee. It does happen, unfortunately, but I definitely don't want to smash my queen. Okay, so I'm not going to pull these two frames. They're starter strips and not super drawn out. So let's see. They still have some work to do on drawing out these frames. So I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed with the progress they've made on drawing out the frames. Bees do work very quickly, and they are doing a lot of work, but I really was kind of expecting to see more progress. But that's okay. All right, I'm going to try to just scoot these. Do I want to play the game? We're going to try something, okay? I'm going to put this back where it was. I feel like their population is big enough that if they're going to be able to keep the brood warm. Gosh, we're not even going very low at night on the night temps. So we're going to try something. We're going to, still need more space there. We're going to move this over. No, we're not going to use that one. No, because that's next to the one that's kind of wonky. They're staring at me. What are you doing? We're going to put a frame in the middle between two drawn out frames and see if we can get them to do a better job at moving more quickly at drawing them out. Now we're going to just, oh, there's one small hive beetle. That's the, oh, you couldn't see that. One small hive beetle. That is a great improvement from what I have been experiencing in here. See if this is going to fit. I might need a little bit more room. Yeah, a little bit. Maybe. It's really close. I feel like they're starting to tell me that maybe it's time to move along, wrap this up, let them get back to their work. Okay, there we go. That's going to be perfect. Okay, I'm excited about this. Excited to see how this goes next week. Good job, man. Get them nice and tight. Let's get this box back on there. Ooh, let's not forget this. I almost always forget initially to put this back in. I didn't really forget this time. It was right there in front of me. Okay. Ooh. Get them closed up. Maybe just in time before a pop-up storm. All right, we are going to take just a peek in here. Check their feed. Oh my goodness. Somehow they have been getting into this. I put here where the feed is. which it could be a robbing situation. I don't know. But since they're blocked off from the hive itself, in my mind, it's not some huge problem. Maybe I'm wrong on that. So in the last video, I had to reevaluate this hive because the most recent split that I made, and I came to the conclusion that I didn't give them enough population to regulate the heat that we were having. So I gave them another frame of some nurse bees and some brood, and to me, it looks like it's helped. All right, I do not want to go crazy on this. I want to just take a peek in here, see if I see eggs still. See kept brood and some honey, worker cells. Do I see eggs? No queen, and I'm not seeing eggs. They may be fine. Oh, I see eggs. This is my original queen that came with my package. Should be. She's always been easy to spot so far. See some larvae, more eggs. We only have one more frame worth noting, so take a peek at it. I gotta be honest, seeing eggs, larvae, they're in worker cells, but I gotta be honest, I'd really like to put my eyes on my queen. This is the queen that they superseded, but then the new queen didn't kill this queen for whatever reason, and I found them both and decided to take the opportunity to try to make a third hive. Oh, there she is. There she is, and I just heard thunder, so we're going to wrap this up. See if you can see her right there. Oop, I'm bumping you. Queen Beatrice. Okay, sorry, ma'am. We'll put you up. Let you get back to your business. They are not nearly as propolis, and they're hardly propolising at all in here. They don't have foragers, then that would explain not having propolis brought in. But they're sliding much more easily. Also, yes, there were quite a few dead bees in the bottom of this hive when I decided to add some more workers over here, and they have cleaned that up. So that makes me feel good because that means if they're able to clean it up, then that's good. That means that their population is good enough that they are able to do what they're supposed to do. All right, guys, that concludes this week's hive inspection. I did pop this one open and just took a peek from the top. They still have plenty of starter strip frames, room to grow. So they raised a new queen, and we have storms rolling in. So I don't feel like it's a good time to be cracking another hive open. So we are not going to open this one, but we did get in that one. First time getting in there with a second deep. It's definitely, there's a learning curve as a new beekeeper of inspecting a hive with a larger population and a second deep. It definitely makes a difference, and you definitely have to adjust your calmness, your awareness, and it takes a little more time, in my opinion, my experience, to manipulate the frames because the population is larger. So if you don't want to be smashing a bunch of bees, you just have to kind of take your time. But it went well, no stings, larger population, but it still went well. I'm really happy with that. They're both queen right, and the adjustments we made on this one seem to have helped them out. They're still small, but they still have time to grow. And since we have 3 hives, we can always take a little from one or both of them to kind of give them a boost. That's the great thing about having multiple hives, is you can pull frames from healthy hives to help boost up a weaker hive. So I'm really excited that I'm now up to 3 hives after starting with 1 package of bees this year. I'm so pumped about that. There are no words. Anyway, that is it for this week. I hope you enjoyed joining me. And this week there weren't any surprises. That's a new one. And I'm not leaving with more questions than answers. So that's That's kind of not been the norm. So just standard inspections. We found our queens. I'm happy with that. A nice, relaxing inspection. So don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my uploads as I document my first year as a beekeeper. Check out Brittany's Botanical Bling where I sell my handmade items, indoor plants, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.